Okay, class, this will be a video instructional on how to apply the advanced straight lettering technique to illustrate a nice capital B. Before doing this, you want to make sure that you've finished up with adding your choice of details to this capital A that we got started together on. So, if you've finished with that, you want to use the bottom half of this paper to follow along with me here. First, we're going to lay down a large capital B. Do so with pencil and as lightly as you can so that things are easily erasable. We're going to add a cap first to modify the skeleton right over here at the top left corner of the B. Next, when it comes to this vertical line we got, let's add a bend to it. First jogging in toward the right, then meeting back up to its original position. You can erase this left side of the line. We have these two large curvatures that we want to deal with. Add some points, 3, 4 at most really. These are going to be the points we use to convert the curved lines into line segments. So you can use the dots that you laid out to connect the dots, to get some straight line segments here. Over here, we can convert that to a straight line segment as well. The last modification we're going to add is an extension right there. While things are still in this skeletal form, single sketchy lines, this is the best time for you to make any adjustments that you might potentially want to make. For me, I'm going to think aloud here. Right over here, I'm thinking that angle would be nice to replicate there. So I'm going to make that adjustment and erase what I had before. The bend over here, perhaps I'll make it a little bit wider to be parallel with that. Or, if I liked it a little bit better before, just change it back. Essentially, you want to be happy with this pencil sketch before you start investing more time into adding the thickness to it. So, we've taken care of the first step in the lettering process, which is to apply the pencil sketch, the single stroke skeleton. Now it's going to be time for us to thicken or inflate those singular lines. We're going to be using this method over here. It's the box, but the corners are a little bit rounded. Starting with the cap, you can first draw a box, and then, using your pencil still, you can round out the 4 corners of that box. Slightly thinner, you can thicken out these 2 line segments, making sure that this elbow right at the bend is softened up. When it comes to these 2 bodies, I want the large kind of curve here to have a little more weight. So the top one, as I box this out, I'm going to make sure to use some thinner widths. But as I move over to the bottom, that's when I can start applying some thicker inflations like you see over here. Now again, at this point, once you've finished up with the initial sketch of how the letter should be looking like thickened out, this is the time for you to make any adjustments. I'm liking the overall balance of these 2 lines. I think I might want to lengthen this line just a bit. I want to make sure to also round out any corners on the inside of the B. The bend that I added on here isn't so evident anymore, so I might want to extend this bend out a little bit. Perhaps adjust the angle of the bottom bend so it's a little more obvious, the modification we made. You want to make your own modifications based on your observations and your preferences. Right over here where the cap is, I might consider, instead of having just that little bit that's Ving up right there, I could either extend the cap, make it a little longer, or I can shorten it to let it sort of fuse with the rest of the line work there. I think I preferred the extended look, so I'm going to keep that. Try multiple things out. Once you're happy with the lettering overall, that's when you can take your Sharpie and outline the outermost lines. I'm doing this quite quickly for the video's sake, so it's not too long. When you go about this, please pause this video so you can really take your time and do a good job with the outlining. It's always a good idea to fan off the Sharpie a little bit. It does dry quickly, but not instantaneously. Once you've finalized the lines, erase all the lines inside of the lettering. Let's go back with the pencil to start mapping out where the shadows would be. We're going to imagine light coming in at this direction, from the top left to the bottom right. Sketch out this line and go over this line just like I'm doing back and forth to kind of save it into your muscle memory. You want to strike some dashes going in the same direction as that. If you ever strike a dash at a corner and it's going inside of the line, you know that that's not a dash you need. Okay? You want to catch all the corners where you're going outside of the letter. But just keep all the dashes in the same direction. Again, if I put a dash here, I know I don't need that because it goes inside of the lettering, so you can take that out. Now these dashes are ready to kind of connect the dots between. You're essentially taking the existing edge and then copying it there. Here and here. You're copying this edge down. This edge, you're copying it there. This edge, copying. This edge, you're copying it there. You're taking the adjacent edge where the dashes are touching, and you're copying them down in space. Once you've mapped out all of your shadows, and it's looking accurate, you can go back in there with the Sharpie to firstly get the outline. Make sure you're still using rounded corners. At this scale, the Sharpie itself should take care of most of that. And then let's fill in the shadow with a dark fill. bold, dark shadows add a lot of contrast to the lettering in general, and it helps a lot with both making it look slightly three-dimensional, and it's pretty aesthetically pleasing, visually pleasing. In our previous basic straight lettering example, we tried out some embellishing details that look like this. Dark circles with an outline, connected to an outline. We're going to try a variation of that here. Instead of doing an outline, which we already have, try this out for yourself. Leave a little bit of white space. Okay? You're making it look like there's a white line, and then start your black area with a nice reverse C curve. Get a secondary one right there, smaller one removed from it. That white line, or the illusion of the white line, is another really effective way to add these types of details. So again, you're just circumnavigating against the edge of that shadow, adding in a bubble, and then filling it in. Not every bubble should, they don't all have to be the same size. In fact, it looks way better if there's variation there. Not every bubble has to touch the letter. Some of them can just be bubbles on their own. But give it some practice where you leave a little bit of room between the lettering and this detail. When it comes to these edges over here that ought to end in a sharp corner, those are things you can come back in with the thinner black pen over here to take care of. The sharp corners and or any small adjustments you need to make in tight spaces. The last thing that we're going to add here is some internal texture on the inside of the bee. You can draw these out or sketch it out using pencil if you're feeling uncomfortable with starting immediately with pen. But we have a lot of interesting angles that we can work with here, and the detailing can accentuate that. So this is something akin to like a technological look. Like there's some mechanized paneling that's going on here. You'll see me moving fairly quickly with my pen. That's because I want to make my pen strokes have a little bit of variation in thickness. And there we have it, everybody. Hope that was helpful. Good luck. I'll see you in class.